Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll introduce you to an application that has truly impressed me, Kubiya. Kubiya or Kubi is a virtual DevOps assistant that is built on various large language models. Now you might be wondering, but Abhishek, there are many other tools that are available in the market that are built on large language models. So how is Kubiya different? Like I told you, it's not just an application that is built on LLMs, but it is a virtual DevOps assistant that you can add to your Slack organization. Then you can add it to one of your favorite channels and talk to it as if you're talking to your colleague. Let's say, for example, you can ask Kubi to list all the S3 buckets in your organization. It will not just return the command back to you, but instead it can execute this action against your AWS account and return all the S3 buckets in your account. Isn't it amazing? Not just that, Kubi supports integrations with various popular DevOps tools such as Kubernetes, JIRA, GitHub, as I mentioned, AWS, and many more. So in today's video, let's see how to install Kubi, how to configure it, and let's play with Kubi. So let's say that I have a Slack organization called Abhishek.Veeramalla. I would like to add Kubiya to this Slack organization and later add it to one of my Slack channels, let's say DevOps team members, where all my DevOps team members are available in this Slack channel. So to do that, the very first thing that you have to do is go to your favorite browser and search for Kubiya Documentation. Installation of Kubiya is pretty straightforward. All that you need to do is once you see the documentation page, to the left side, you will notice a section called Quick Start. Just click on that. And then you have an option called Install the Slack app. As you click on that, you will notice a page. And if you scroll down, there is an option called Add to Slack. Once you click on that link, Kubiya requests some permissions for your Slack organization. Please go through the content and the permissions that Kubiya has requested. And if you're okay with it, click on the Allow button. You will notice that Kubiya is successfully added, or Kubiya is now installed in my Slack workspace. You can go back to your Slack, right? So this is my Slack. And now you will see a application called Kubiya in the app section. So this is Kubi. Now, either you can talk to Kubi directly here, or like I told you, you can add Kubi to one of your favorite Slack channels. You can simply say, hi, Kubi, right? So just say, hi, Kubi, and Slack will immediately ask you to add Kubi to this particular group. So you can just invite it and you're all set to use Kubi. Now you're all set with Kubi on the Slack channel, but how do you actually use it, right? So you have Kubi here and you can ask Kubi for something, but before that, like I told you, Kubi has integrations with Kubernetes, AWS, JIRA, GitHub, but how do you actually configure that? How do you actually enable the integrations with Kubiya? So for that, just go to the Kubi JR or the app called Kubi inside your app section, and you have a very detailed documentation. So documentation for Kubi is available at docs.kubiya.ai, and there is also a very good management interface under app.kubiya.ai. So now let's open both of them. And the very first thing let's do is let's start setting up Kubiya for my AWS account, right? So I'll set up Kubiya for my AWS account, and then I'll ask Kubi to perform some actions against my AWS account. Let's see if we will be successful or not. Let's head to the Kubiya management console or the Kubi dashboard to connect Kubiya with my AWS account. So right now you see that if you go to the connection section, I don't have any connections active. So I can click on the new connection section and Kubi will ask me which one of these things do you want me to connect with? So you can connect with any one of them or all of them. There is no restriction. You can connect with all of these things and you can ask Kubi to perform actions on your behalf. So let's start with AWS. And to set up AWS, if you scroll down, just click on AWS. And if you scroll down, this is what Kubi requires. So Kubi is asking for your AWS account ID, a role that you set up for Kubi, and the region in which you want the Kubi setup to be. So region, let me select it as US East 1. Account ID, of course, if I go to my AWS account, you can get the AWS account ID from here. So I can just copy it and let me go back to Kubi and paste my account ID here. Now, how do I create a role for Kubi and what steps do I need to follow? What privileges do I need to grant to Kubi? And where can I find all this information? So you can go back to the Kubiya docs, which is very well written. And all that you need to do is go to this connector section, click on the built-in connectors and select the section with which you would like to connect. So for example, I'm looking for AWS connector. So I'll click on the AWS page and each and every step is very clearly documented. So the first thing is you need to click on the create role in your AWS account. And then you have to choose the select trusted entity as AWS account. And then this is the AWS account ID that you have to enter. I'll do these steps in a while, but before that, let me quickly go through it. And finally, you have to grant permissions. If you want to grant administrative permissions, you want to create a particular policy for Kubiya, whatever you would like to, depending upon your use case. And that's it. Once you provide this information, click on create role and let's come back to Kubiya and add that role information here. So let's do that exercise. So firstly, I'll search for IAM and within IAM, let's go to the role section and let's perform actions as suggested in the documentation. So I clicked on the role section and now I'll just click on the create role, select the trusted entity type as AWS account, click on another AWS account and provide the account ID that is provided in the Kubiya docs. So if you scroll up, you will see an account ID 5644. Let's provide that. Let's go back to the docs. 70762 2214. Let's confirm if that is correct. 2114. Let's change it. Perfect. So now I have added the account ID and let me click on the next button. Now, as I told you, you can grant any level of privileges, but please make sure that you understand what policies you are granting because I am doing a demo and this is my test account. I am granting the administrative access and I will click on the next button. Let me enter this role as Kubiya demo Abhishek. And if you want, you can add any description. Click on the create role. That's it. Kubiya role is created. Now I'll go back and add this role that I've just created, right? So just type this and click on the deploy section. Now, if you click on the deploy button, then Kubiya will validate the configuration that you have created. And if everything looks good to Kubiya, then Kubiya will, pop up saying that AWS connection has been successfully created. That means now your Slack or Kubiya that you have installed on your Slack can talk to AWS. So for that, like I mentioned you, see, you can go to the Kubi app section and you can talk to Kubi directly from here. Or the way that I would prefer is add Kubi to the Slack channel, right? And I would like to talk to Kubi as if I'm talking to one of my DevOps team members. So what I'll do here is I'll say Kubi list S3 buckets. Now you'll notice that as soon as you enter this prompt to Kubi, it will respond you back with the brain emoji, and immediately it will start accessing your account and try to fetch the required information. So it will parse the response and it will give you the response back in seconds of time. All that you need to do is sit back and relax. So these are the S3 buckets according to Kubi. So it says I have the following S3 buckets called Abhishek S3 demo, AWS CloudTrail logs, CloudFormation templates related S3 bucket, code pipelines. Now let's verify if the information given back by Kubi is correct or not. So we can go to our AWS account. So this is my AWS account and let me search for S3 and let me verify if the bucket's information is prompt. Perfect. So these are the S3 buckets. The first one is Abhishek S3 and the last one is Terraform. Exactly the same that Kubi has responded back. And you know, there are also timestamps on when this S3 buckets are created. Similarly, you can ask Kubi queries like Kubi list Lambda functions. And now I know that there are no Lambda functions on my account at this point of time. So I want Kubi to respond back saying that there are 0 Lambda functions in your account. So list Lambda functions. And now let's see if Kubi can do it. So again, it will respond you back with a brain emoji and you will see a reply. Engaging with AWS, please stay with me. Okay, Kubi. And it's working on the request. Perfect. It said 0 Lambda. Now let's move to IAM and see if Kubi can also answer such kind of things. So Kubi list IAM users, or you can also ask IAM roles, whatever you would like to. So let's say list IAM roles and let's wait for Kubi to respond back with that information. So it can help you with very simple queries and also the complicated ones. Right now, I just asked Kubi to list the resources on AWS. But if you look at the AI suggestions that Kubi is providing you, it can do all of these things. It can create Lambda functions, it can delete Lambda functions, update the existing ones. And similarly, if you go through the S3 bucket thread, Kubi understands that probably you need Kubi to perform more actions related to S3. So through its AI suggestions, it lets you know that, okay, related to S3 buckets, I can also create a bucket, delete a bucket, download a file within a bucket and whatever. So depending on your request, it will provide you with the AI suggestions. Now, I think Kubi has responded back with all the IAM rules that are available in my account. Perfect. It says you have 45 IAM rules in your account. Isn't it amazing? Right? So this is what Kubi is capable of with respect to AWS. So if you want to know what all things Kubi is capable of, you also have some examples here. So if you go to the Kubi documentation and if you just search for, let's say, built-in connectors, AWS, there are a bunch of screenshots which you can go through and you understand how you can master the prompt with Kubi because it's all about asking questions. So you can get better at it by using this questions as well. So for example, here you have list all EC2 instances and Kubi has provided all the EC2 instances in running state and stop state. After that, you can ask provide EC2 instance related information and you can provide one EC2 instance name, right? You can also ask Kubi to create an EC2 instance. Now, when you ask Kubi to create an instance, see what it did is it is asking you bunch of questions. What kind of EC2 instance you need? What is the IAM image? So, yeah, they have a very good documentation, like I mentioned you before. So, one query that I can pick from here is list all key pairs in my or list all key pairs in US East 1. Let's see if we can get all the key value pairs. I have a bunch of key value pairs. So let's wait for Kubi to respond back. Working on it in progress and see here all the key value pairs that are in my account. Perfect. So We have tried different resources on AWS, but that's not it. Like I told you, if you go back to the Kubi management console, AWS is not just the only integration that Kubi supports. You can also integrate Kubi with Kubernetes. You can integrate it with GitHub, JIRA, Jenkins, and whatnot. So now let's connect Kubi to another popular DevOps tool, that is Kubernetes. And to set up Kubi Kubernetes integration, first thing that you need to do is create a runner. So you just click on the action runner section. I will take it in a different tab and show you how to create an action runner in Kubi. And later point of time, once we have the runner, we will provide that configuration here and the cluster configuration that is required for Kubi. And that's all. Your Kubi and Kubernetes cluster connection is established. So action runners, click on add new runner, just provide a name. Let's say Kubiya Abhi. And as you click on continue, Kubi will give you a YAML manifest that needs to be applied. So the command is also available. I can simply copy paste it. So this is my Kubernetes cluster. Let me paste the command. And you will notice that Kubi will start creating namespaces and deploy the manifests or the resources inside those names. Perfect. So Kubi has created bunch of resources on my Kubernetes cluster. Now you can go back and click on the done button. And so the connection action runner is successfully created. So now in the connection section, click on the new connection, and we will use the Kubernetes runner that we have set up in the previous section. So use the Kubiya Abhi tunnel. This is the one that I've just created in the action runner section, and provide a secret if you need any. And after that, like for now, I don't need any secret. So I'm okay with it. And I'll click on the deploy button. So just remove the secret if you don't need it and click on the deploy button. And within a couple of minutes, your Kubiya Kubernetes cluster connection will be established and you will see something like this. Kubernetes connection has been successfully established, right? Kubernetes connection have been created successfully. So now you can interact with Kubi. Similarly, what we did with AWS, now we will move towards the Slack and we will see how to talk to Kubernetes. Kubi list namespaces on my cluster. Again, let's wait for the magic. Oh, Kubi responded back with the brain emoji. And here you go. Here is the reply. Interacting with your Kubernetes cluster now. And it says, these are the namespaces. Isn't it amazing? All the namespaces on the cluster you can see right now. And not just that, now let's ask a little complicated query to Kubi. Kubi, list pods in namespace. Of course, I need to have access to the namespace. So let's pick one of the namespaces. Let's say default namespace. So list pods in namespace default. Now, if I have access to it, then Kubi will respond back saying that, hey, these are the pods that are available in the default namespace. And if you don't have access to a particular namespace, Kubi is capable of saying you that, hey, you don't have access to the particular namespace or permission denied, right? Perfect. So now let's see what Kubi is capable of other than this. So let's go to the Kubi documentation, click on Kubernetes. And here you will notice that if you scroll down, there are bunch of actions. Like you can do checking cluster status. You can check what is the status of your cluster. So this is the prompt that is available. Deploying an application, these are the prompts that you can use. You can check pod status with Kubi. You can do rolling back update for a deployment. You can update an existing config map, delete resources, all of these things. So this is about Kubi Kubernetes connection. And apart from this, Like I told you, you can also interact with GitHub. You can create JIRA tickets automatically using Kubi, and all that information is available in the documentation section. So the documentation, again, I'm repeating, it's very, very clear. There are some prompts that will help you understand how do I talk to Kubi, and how can I make Kubi to create a JIRA ticket. So this is the prompt for it. How can I make Kubi to give me overview of all the open Jira tickets? So you can find it all in the documentation. Perfect. Now, one final thing that I want to show you is if you go back to Kubi dashboard, you can also see how much time Kubi has saved for you. So this is a new account that I've created. I just started using it the other day. Until now, I saved 5 hours using Kubi, right? And total of I just executed 26 actions, and these are some latest actions, and you can find all the charts that will explain your usage with Kubi and how efficient is Kubi for you. So this is the video about Kubi. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the comment section. I'll also post the link to the documentation as well as the management console, both in the description. You can check that and you can try Kubi yourself. Thank you so much for watching the video. See you all in the next one. Bye bye.